Should be live. Thank you. You always have difficulties when you go into a live situation or even a business, but we have professionals in the back who walk us through and save our rear ends. So we're going to talk about the orientation of new members. I mentioned before we closed the last one that I have a favorite recipe, and not everybody cooks their meals according to my recipe. They add something, they change something. This 2-hour process is going to be my thoughts on what and when, and it's not going to be everybody's thoughts. So we're going to talk about that too just a little bit. Setting waypoints as you navigate. So my name's Tommy Thomas. I'm the branch chief for the 8th District, 8 Eastern, 8 Western, 8 Coastal. I cover everybody that questions whether or not they might want to join the auxiliary. I shared this before. This is my notebook. Every page in here is an individual that says, I'm interested in joining the organization. Every one of them. I try to talk to them. I make a phone call, connect them, send them to the staff officer. So my job is to see that people that are coming into the organization electronically get filtered out. First of all, they're vetted. Are they qualified to join? Are we sure that they don't want a boating safety class or go a vessel exam or go to the auxiliary or, to go to the Coast Guard Academy or to join the regular Coast Guard? So I'll make sure that they're here for why they're supposed to be here. And then I send them out to a staff officer in their division in one of those 3 districts. So that's what I do on a daily basis, and I love it. So before we begin, we're going to do this again. I need to know who you are. I want to know where you're from. I want to know what's your auxiliary experience, and what do you think you might do with this information that we're about to see for the next couple of hours. So we've already done this before, but Derek, we're going to start with you. If you tell us.
My name is Derek. I am from
Cincinnati.
I have been with the auxiliary for about a year.
Wait just a second. Are we off? Because we're going live, they want to hear you. Just it's on. Just go back to you. You're Derek.
Yes, I'm Derek Vanderwick. I am from here in Cincinnati. I've been with the auxiliary about a year, but I haven't really gotten into it as much as I'd like to, and I kind of want to know where to go from here.
Sounds like a good idea. Low? Again.
Good morning. My name is Lola. Alrighty. For those of you that didn't hear Derek, he's been here a year. It's great. He was first. My name's Lo. I have been with the auxiliary since August, and still trying to go through my basic qualification training. So I don't have my card yet. So I'm a member. I'm just not a card-carrying member. I plan on using the information here with orientation to help get further along in my auxiliary career.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Don?
Yeah, Don Clark. I've been a member since February, so I'm kind of the new, maybe the newest, maybe. But so yes, I'm taking this course 1. I'm a new member too. I want to learn about how to help new members. One of my goals, minor goals, will be FSO of member training.
Ooh.
So that'll fit right in with that.
Flotilla's excited about that. Did you pass that over?
My name is Wes Quinn. I'm the flotilla
First
commander.
name is what?
Wes.
Wes?
I'm the flotilla commander for Flotilla 6-2 up in Inglewood, Ohio. I've been with the auxiliary for about 6 years now. And one of the reasons I wanted to take this class was that way I have a better understanding on what I need to teach my new people coming in.
Outstanding. Would you pass that back to Chief of Staff Bono, if you would share with these people who you are?
You got a few different people in here. My name's Ron Bono. I am District Chief of Staff for the 8th Eastern Region, newly appointed as of this year, started January 1st, term's good for 2 years. I'm from Division 12, which is located in Knoxville, Tennessee. I am Flotilla 12-5. Been in the auxiliary now. I'm starting in my 15th year with the auxiliary. And I presently serve as the FSO for HR, the FSO for vessel safety checks, and the FSO for PE, which all three missions I absolutely love. Good luck in this class. Tommy does an outstanding job, so
We're yet to
as
see
these
that.
three folks know.
Commodore?
Morning, I'm Pat Fury. I'm from LA, which is Lower Alabama. Deputy National Commodore for Atlantic West, which means I've got geographical responsibility for everything from the western border of the East Coast states to the eastern border of the West Coast states, from the Canadian border to the Gulf of Mexico. A lot of big area. Also have responsibility for operations and response, which includes surface aviation, telecommunications, emergency management, and international affairs and prevention of marine safety. That sounds like a lot, and it is. And, you know, and these stars and Deputy National Commodore and $3 and my ARP card will probably buy me a mediocre cup of coffee somewhere if I'm lucky. But it's a lot of responsibility. So, you know, what's my auxiliary experience? I've been in the auxiliary since June of 2001. And it's been great, you know, and it's great to come to these conferences and meet new people and have an opportunity to talk with new people. And, you know, new members, this is a great experience, but, you know, it's as great as you make it. You know, if you listen to the preamble to the pledge we all take, it says the satisfaction you derive will be in proportion to the time you put in. And just experience, be open-minded, you know. Ron and I were just talking about, you know, we've experienced, Tom has, I have, Ron has, Chris has, you know, we've all experienced people in this organization that speak authoritatively. You know, they talk loud, you know, they talk over people, and wow, that guy knows his stuff. Well, the fact of the matter is that guy has probably got 1 year's experience 20 times because he's not read anything. He's probably not attended many district conferences at all. He just, you know, he's an urban legend. And you're going to experience those people, you know. Don't be satisfied with the status quo, you know. Do not be satisfied with the status quo as you go through your auxiliary career, you know. Do what you want to do in the auxiliary. You know, a lot of places will come, oh, you got to be crew, you got to be crew. I was at a flotilla meeting once where a young woman had just joined the flotilla, and the flotilla commander says, well, what are you interested in doing? She says, I'm interested in marine safety. Oh, well, nice. And she goes, I've been looking on the web, and I know that I'm going to have to travel to Sector, which was about a 3-hour drive, to get some of the training that I need. And he goes, oh. He goes, hey, you want to be crew? He says, we got a great crew for you. You want to be crew? Well, you know, that's like going into a car dealership. And the salesman comes up and introduces himself, and he says, how can I help you, Pat? And I said, you know, I want one of those new hybrid little whatevers out there. And he goes, oh, that's great. Let me show you this $85,000 pickup truck. Am I going to buy a car from that person? No. But we got people like that. So don't be satisfied with the status quo. You know, if you join this organization and you know, you join because you want to serve or give back, that's great. But find something that you want to do. And if it's vessel exams or PV or public affairs or culinary, be the best at it that you can be. And you know, don't accept the fact that some old barnacle is telling you otherwise, that you can't do that. You know, Ron and I were just talking about some of the roadblocks that people throw up to our members, saying, you know, I'm a QE. Several years ago, I was QEing, I was doing a QE mission, and the guy running the boat, the guy that was the coxswain of the boat, been in the auxiliary 4 or 5 years. He was a coxswain, been a coxswain for going on 2 years, and he was doing a tremendous job. I mean, this guy was a good driver. We're out in the ocean off of southeast Florida doing his QE mission. He's communicating with the crew. He's doing great. And I said, why don't you become a QE? He goes, well, I can't. What do you mean you can't? Well, I talked to the area QE coordinator, and he says, I got to be a coxswain for at least 7 years before they'll consider me. I said, that's a bunch of bovine scatology. You know, I said, that's bull. I said, where did he come up with that? You know, so you're going to run into that. So be the best you can be at what you want to do. And be open-minded. Read. You know, stay informed. Make sure you've got the right information. It takes a little effort, but the payoff's really big. You know, my granddaddy told me that that when you're green, you're growing, and when you're ripe, you're rotten. Stay green, okay? So thanks for being here. Tom, doing a great job. And,
Thank you, sir.
and I'm going to be in and out of all these classes, so I was sorry
We
to
both
barge in
cover
on
the
you.
same area, the 8th District, 8 Eastern, 8 Coastal, 8 Western. I tell everybody it's 26, all are part of 26 states. I cover from Wyoming to West Virginia and North Dakota to Texas. So we've got quite an expansive, we'll show a map here in a little bit. So I really enjoy listening to people who have a passion. Would you say he has a passion for what he's doing? So thank you, Pat. I appreciate that. Clicker in my pocket. All right. What is the orientation process? When you find yourself in a totally new environment, you've got to figure out, first of all, where you are. Are you Army?
Air Force.
Air Force. Both of you Air Force. Any Army? No. A Marine back here. You Navy? Okay, so let me ask the Marines.
I had two brothers who were Army, so I know quite a bit about it.
Did you ever you went through an orientation process? Okay. I was in the Army. I was going through advanced training, military police school, and they took us out 2 o'clock in the morning, bang, bang, bang. Drill sergeant says, everybody get in a deuce and a half. We go out in the middle of nowhere. I get a map, I get a compass, I get a flashlight, and I get about 3 guys with me, and they said, find your way home. And I have no idea where I am. And so the first thing you got to do is when you find yourself in a new environment, figure out exactly where you are, because you can't go anywhere unless you know where you are. Those new auxiliaries coming in, you've been in about a year?
Yep.
Was it a new experience for you?
Yes.
Did you think at any point, we're honest here, we've been talking and we're completely honest. At any point in time, did you think, what did I get into?
Yes.
Where am I? What is this organization? Why is nobody paying attention to me? I feel so lost. Kind of have that sometimes. Everybody has. Did you have it, Lo?
Not as an auxiliary, no, sir.
Okay. Don?
Only because I work in the same building as my flotilla commander.
Okay.
So I couldn't really get lost. I mean, he was right there.
Don?
Yeah, I've been
Feel lost at some point in time? Once or twice? Yes? I did too. I came in, I told you I wanted to be an instructor, and I had no mentoring at the time, and I thought, my gosh, what am I going to do? So finding out where you are is kind of critical. And then the orientation process starts with what I call first things first. That just makes sense to me. So my opinion, first thing first is, what's the history of the Coast Guard? I would think that you would want to know something about the organization that you're going to join, probably before you join it. Now, this orientation starts perhaps when I talk to someone here, I send them the history of the Coast Guard. Let them know what we're doing. I want to see the history of the auxiliary. This specific little organization, what does it do? How is it a part of whatever else I'm doing, and how am I going to be a part of it? Basic auxiliary missions. I think one of the things we need to cover in the orientation process is, what does the auxiliary do? What are the expectations of the auxiliary? Have you ever seen a list of auxiliary expectations?
Training.
No. Written list of what the auxiliary expects of you. Yes, you have. You just haven't noticed it. I'm going to show it to you in a minute. Every one of you who's an auxiliarist has seen that list. And then I think they need to know the application process. I think if someone's talking to me about joining the auxiliary, it's critical that I say, here's what we're going to go through. Here's the pain and agony that you're going to deal with trying to get that application to work online, trying to get all the information. And it's not easy, is it, Derek?
It is not.
It is not. It took me a while to gather all of that. The form that you put it in, we're going to talk about that application in a little detail to make you a little familiar with it. Because as the orientation process goes on, as you become a mentoring somebody through that process, you need to know what they're going through and what they're going to see. Basic history, can I click on this? Hang on. Nope. Back to the podium. So there is brief history of the Coast Guard. And I'll send you these PowerPoint slides if you want them. Got the link on there. All you got to do at the end of this program, it's going to be my card, or just send me your email address or give me something and I'll send it to you. But it gives a brief history of the Coast Guard, United States Coast Guard. And I don't read it to them just line by line, but I do ask them to go through and become familiar with the history. It's a fantastic history. I mean, we have a long and wonderful history of being part of the United States Coast Guard team, and we are part of that team. So once they understand what the mission of the Coast Guard is, I can get out of here. There we are. Then we want to find out a little bit about the auxiliary. So here's an overview of the auxiliary. Talking about things like safety and security patrols, getting into some mission activity here, search and rescue. Those first two things, it seems to me, in all my contact with these people, that's the first thing they want to know about, is boating, getting on the water. I want to be out there. I want to be where the action is. Search and rescue. We don't get to do search and rescue in my area for two reasons. Number one, it's all done by law enforcement. They get out there and they do it. Number two, we don't have a facility. Our coxswain's 82 years old, so he doesn't coxswain anymore. His facility is damaged. It's got engine troubles. And our boat crew member is in REYR. So we can't get out on the water. But we need to talk to them about these issues right here. What our mission is, promote and improve recreational boating safety. RBS is job number one. What's RBS?
Recreational boating safety.
Very good, very good, Lo. See there? Worth the price of admission. Supporting the Coast Guard operations, administrative, and logistic requirements. If you were in there yet, oh, I'm sorry. Let me get you the mic. I'm coming, Wes. We're out of camera range, so. You bringing in lunch or coffee or water or something?
Better. Find some words. I'm going to be behind the screen. Just don't pay any attention to me.
Okay.
One of the first things I get asked when I talk to people about joining the auxiliary is, what kind of weapons do we carry? And that's
I mean, you've heard that before.
And I have to tell them, no, we don't do that part. We're non-law enforcement.
Right. But
And
they want to know.
some of them that turns them off, but a lot of them are grateful we don't.
Well, we discussed earlier, not everybody is suitable for membership in the Coast Guard Auxiliary. And it's sad, but it's just the fact of life that some people have expectations above our ability to provide them with stuff. But we need to know what they are and help them with that. So we've gone through the history of the Coast Guard. We're looking at the history of the auxiliary. How many of you think that's important for a new member to know? You think that's important? So there's a lot of information in here. I want to see just a second. Whoops. While we're here, you see this section right here, new member information? I'm going to click on it real quickly. New to the auxiliary. This is an amazing website. We're going to see it multiple times today. We're going to go through some of the information. But if you are on this is the Human Resources Directory. Almost every directorate is going to have this link. I can't think of any that don't. Oh my gosh, there's a wealth of information in here. Okay? The auxiliary terms, PLAs and FLAs. What are that, Lo? Three?
3-letter codes and 2-letter.
Yep, 3-letter acronyms and 4-letter acronyms.
Okay,
There you go. So we use those all the time, and we should. We use things like an FSO, and we don't explain what an FSO is. So, all right, I'm going to get out of here for a second. If I know how to get out of here. Back into PowerPoint. I'm sure there's a transition that I can do something about there. Okay. Recreational boating safety is job number one. What we're supposed to be doing. All the basic missions, now I got to tell you, they're like, I don't tell you how many qualifications there are. And we just added a new virtual flotilla, which is the cybersecurity flotilla. Okay. another mission, but the basic missions of the Coast Guard Auxiliary relate to boating safety, and those would be partner visitations. When you go out and you visit someone and say, we want you to help us pass out this literature, be our partner in disseminating information to the boating public. I think that's one of our important missions because we don't have an opportunity to connect with every single boater on the water, but at some point in time, every single boater on the water is going to show up at a marina fueling station, at a marina ship store, at some place where they can buy fishing equipment, those types of things. And if that information is available to them, other than making them take it home with them, that's the best we can do. We can lead that horse to water, but we can't make them drink. But if that material is not there in the marina or in the store, they're never going to have an opportunity to find out how to lock through. You know, they're not going to find an opportunity to find out what types of life jackets they need and where they're going to go to get certain information. It's all in the opportunities that we can present to the partner visits. Vessel exams. So there are two parts to safety. One part is the vessel itself. What's the other part? The human part, the boater, okay? So safety, the outside environment's out there still, but still the boat and the boater are the two key ingredients. So if we do vessel safety exams, do we guarantee, swear that that boat is going to be safe and nothing's ever going to happen to it? Down at the bottom it says, you know, this warranty is as good until we get off the boat. You know, if you change something once we leave, then your boat may not meet federal requirements. And that's all we're doing with vessel exams is saying, here are the federal requirements. We're going to go through that. We're going to make sure that you meet them. We're going to check them off, just make sure you do. And then we're going to also look over and get some, do you have a first aid kit? Not required by law, but it's probably a smart thing to have a first aid kit. You know, go through those discussion points with them so it's an educational opportunity for the vessel owner. Even if it's a paddle craft, it gives us an opportunity to talk to that paddler and give them some safety information, where to go if you need help kind of stuff. So vessel exams are kind of important. And then obviously boating safety classes. Don, you went through your boating safety class. Did you learn anything?
I did.
Anything useful?
Yeah.
So this is going to be a quick, anything in there that you think, I'd never use that? Really? Truthfully? Well, I had a 46-foot carver. I don't trailer that carver, so the trailering part was of no interest to me. But still, you know, I did have a pontoon at one time, so that trailing was important. So boating safety classes can be tailored to, I'm not talking about just the boating safety class NASBLA that he took to get his license. I'm talking about Suddenly in Command, which is a 2 to 4 hour class that we teach for little Johnny, who's 11 years old, goes out with Granddaddy. Granddaddy has a heart attack. Little Johnny says, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Suddenly in Command, little Johnny, what does he do? So that's a boating safety class. A lot of those, 15 that we do, not all the time, but 15 that we have access to. And some of them are very important, and we can tailor them to whatever need the party needs. Public affairs activities. How many of you have been to a boat show or to an outdoor, you stand there and you hand out literature, you talk to people, and do you ever get members out of that?
I haven't actually, I mean, I was at a boat show as a participant in the boat show.
Okay.
Part of the Coast Guard Auxiliary, but there were all kinds of, I mean, we went to 3 different locations within a 2-mile radius, and there was Coast Guard Auxiliary at every one of those stops.
Did any of them approach you?
I went up and said hi to them.
Yeah, you're the outgoing person.
I know, I'm sorry.
Have any of you been to a public affairs event or PA event? What did you do, Wes?
We were at the Blessing of the Lights at Phil Kerr's.
That's interesting.
And a lot of the guys that come up to our booth didn't even know there was a Coast Guard Auxiliary around.
Very common comment that I hear.
And one of the comments that I wrote to a lot is, people think that it's still the good old boy club, as they call it.
The auxiliary.
Right. because they think
Do you
that
think there are some that are good old boy clubs?
possibly.
Possibly. I don't know any, but I think with any organization, you kind of get cliques, you know, and I notice when I go to something like dinner tonight that people are going to be sitting in cliques. And I watch to see who's sitting with whom. And I try to tell my flotilla members, don't sit with us. I see you all the time. Go sit with somebody you don't know. You know, find somebody different. Let's don't have our flotilla is good enough. We don't need anybody new. Okay, and that's not a diversity thing. That's just that we don't need anybody new. We're good. Everything's cruising. But it won't cruise for long because you're going to run out of gas at some point in time.
Well, that's what I run into is a lot of people think that the diversity part of it that you just talked about, that, it's only for certain groups of people. And I'm like, no.
No, we're talking about different
We're not.
occupations.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not just talking about the racial thing or the gender thing. I'm talking about diversity among everything. I want some engineers in there. Engineers drive me crazy, okay, because they're so detailed, but they're so good at tracking things for me. My ex-coxswain was an engineer, and he'd say, no, you missed this, this, and this. So I like engineers in there. I like social workers in there. They come at it from a different perspective. So diversity to me means a lot of different people that represent the community out there. I need some fairly well-to-do people because they can send their check to the Auxiliary Association and say, give this money to my flotilla, and within about 2 weeks, the check comes into my flotilla from the Auxiliary Association, tax deductible to them, and money for me. I like that. So, public affairs activities, telecommunications, basic, and boat crew. Would you think that these 6 things make up the bulk of the basic activity of flotilla's activity? The basics. I'm talking about just the basics. There are 25 or 30 different qualifications in there, but those are probably the basics. What do we expect? We expect dedication. Do you take an oath when you join the auxiliary? Are you supposed to take an oath when you join the auxiliary? Do you remember that oath? I don't. Do you? Okay. But you're not capable of getting up and reciting it, right? No, I don't think anybody would. I don't think anybody could. Fellowship. We love to have fellowship in this community. We want to get along with each other. We want to meet new people. We want to share our experiences in a social environment. We don't want everything to be so structured in drops and everything that we can't just be people and talk to each other and get along and support. When we had a tornado come through our area, our vice commander got on and said, is everybody okay? Get back to me. Are you okay? Do you need any help? We had one man whose neighbor had everything destroyed, and he was busy with them. I heard Roger say earlier that he had a new auxiliarist that lost his house. There are funds available to help those auxiliarists in that need. There's money out there to help people that need help. Sometimes if we're not fellowshipping with them, if we're not, how you doing? How's your mom and them? If we're not taking care of each other, we miss that opportunity to find out a little bit more about them. Gentleman supposed to be here today, Patrick Brown's father, had an open heart surgery. And so as auxiliarists, we need to be compassionate about people that are in our auxiliary. It makes us better people when we do. And fellowshipping is important. We used to have a picnic every summer, and when we were a close-knit organization geographically, and then we started to expand, it became difficult. But that was such a fun time. Kids got together. We got to meet everybody. It was a wonderful time. We expect service. Do something. Somehow be a benefit to your community. We expect professional conduct and participation. We expect you to participate in something. We mentioned that the other day, last 2 hours ago, something. We were talking about participation. Patrols. That's one way to participate. In order to do that, you have to go through boat crew training, blah, blah, blah. But that's something you can participate in. Participate in training. I'm doing that now. I'm participating in training here at DTRAIN, doing my best to impart some information, if not wisdom, to people. Try to get them to understand the concept a little better. Recruiting, going out and I love the opportunity to tell the story. Somebody said yesterday, and I wish my brain would remember who it is, that they handed out a business card in the elevator. Could have been Ron Bono. Ron, let me ask him. Huh? We've come to a point where your input is important. Yours. Your words are going to come back to haunt you. On the screen, we're talking about auxiliarist participation in, the last item is recruiting. So you're in the elevator with somebody. Did you hand out a business card to somebody in the elevator? Was it him? Oh, okay.
Active and as evolved as he thought he should be. So he was questioning as to his continuance or his continued involvement. So that's what the conversation was based on. And I put it back on him. I said, if you're waiting for somebody necessarily to come get you to tell you to do this or tell you to do that, what do you want to do? What interests you? Is it vessel safety checks, or is it doing public education, or is it being a program visitor or operations? Pursue that. Find somebody to help you and pursue that initiative on your own. Get certified, do your 5 vessel safety checks or do your required PVs, but get certified and take the initiative on your own to get involved. Don't wait for somebody to come grab you by the arm, because we are a self-motivating organization, and you have to be self-motivating. There's plenty of expertise within the auxiliary, though. Sure. And that same thing Tom was talking about, mentorship. Don't necessarily wait for somebody to come up and grab you by the arm. Go to somebody and ask them. You said, I'm sorry, miss, I didn't know your name, but Lo. You said it. You know, if you got a question, go ask somebody. And if they know what they're talking about, take the information. If they don't, find out who can help you. You got to be aggressive with that, and you can decide if you want to continue with that person as a mentor and as a guide, or maybe you find somebody else. But you got to take the initiative to make it happen. I believe success grows success. If you start doing something, people will say, hey, that looks like a successful mission. I want to get into that. So you might have more VEs. And this is what I told this young man this morning. Be a little aggressive with it. Ask for some help. Make it happen. And you could be the FSO of a particular mission. But he's also got a career. He's also got a family. And I said, Dad, you have to learn the balance there. That's important. You got to, first comes your family, then your career, and then your volunteerism to the auxiliary. So you got to maintain a balance there. But that's, if it was a new person, not an auxiliarist, yes, I would have handed out my business card. Or I would have said, give me your name and number, I'll call you, or I'll have the respective person call you, which I have done in the past too. Or I'll give them my business card and say, call me, and we'll talk, and I'll tell you who to get in contact with. Make it be a different division, could be a different flotilla, could be a different HR officer. But yes, I think Commodore Ferry said the other day that, maybe it was the Admiral said last night, he gives out his business card to a bellman. Somebody asks about the Coast Guard Auxiliary, he gives them their business card. He won't enroll them, but he'll make sure the right person gets in touch with him and enrolls them.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate it. Why don't you just hand that to Don? Hand the mic to them.
Sorry.
Yeah, but in order to do that, you have to have a business card. So I have a business card. You saw it at the end of the presentation. It's got my name, who I am, blah, blah, blah. But on the back of the card, it says, for information about vessel safety checks, boating classes, or joining the auxiliary, call, text, or email me. You know, all these things that I can do for you, whether it's as a civilian or maybe becoming part of us, let me know. So I would encourage all of you to get some kind of business card. I think there's a link on one of the websites that says how you get vessel examination or business cards. I'm not really sure. I should know that, but I don't. So I would suggest you get business cards. But recruiting is so important. Recruiting somebody that's already auxiliarist into something else. You know, they recruited somebody away from our division into cyber security flotilla. So somebody recruited somebody away from us. Happy about that, but anyway. But recruiting, public affairs, participate in something. What kind of training do you have to have? What kind of formal training do you have to do anything in the public affairs area? You show up at a boat show. Do you have to go through a PQS for training? Come on through, ladies. Come on. Do you have to have a PQS for going to a boat show? Saying hi?
To be the FSO, you do.
Well, no, but just to be there to participate. And I have people that are waiting for their application to be approved, or did have. They've all been approved now, thank you, Laura. Waiting, and we say, come see what we do. Come look at us. And even if you're just thinking about joining the auxiliary, what better thing to do than watch us do something at a public affairs event? See what we do. Public education. I have people that sit in classes for member training that aren't necessarily auxiliarists. I have people actually teaching boating safety classes approved that are not auxiliarist instructors. It's permitted if you're teaching something that has a particular expertise, like the law, and you get a lawyer to teach that section, that's okay. Okay. But something in public education is a great opportunity for us to meet people and get involved. I've got one that's done. Where is it?
I'm sorry.
Right here, here's one that's done.
Yeah, that back with the Commodore.
My
Wait,
husband's
can I
not-
fix
nothing is not efficient, and so we're entering
Do you want to do this one now? Orientation?
No, that's okay. We'll come back
Okay.
and pick it up.
You want to take the ones that are already filled out?
We'll do that one, yeah.
Well, I mean, the training
Oh, sure.
questionnaires?
Yeah, if they're done with them.
These two are done,
Don't need to keep interrupting you.
and there might be another one done.
That was from this morning.
That's from this morning. I got another one for this afternoon.
That's fine. Yes, we are nothing if not efficient, the FLC.
So the question did come up. You're having a drawing at 4 new car? A mug.
You know what? It's a mug, but you can put it in your car.
Do you have to be here to win? Okay, thank you.
No, I'm fine too. Thanks, Kevin. No, oh, I could actually, because they don't have any water in here. So we're going to break in just. Hey, Anita, we're going to break in about 5 minutes for a short bathroom break. So I'll get it then. Thank you. Okay. So public education, we can participate in public education. I have people that are not instructors that help me on boating safety classes. They help me set up the room. They help me pass out the exams. They can help me grade the exams. They can do a lot of stuff. They just can't be involved in the direct instruction of the courses. They participate in leadership positions. I want to thank you guys for stepping up in the future to assume a leadership position. I've always had this problem. If the flotilla's running really well, and then you start pulling members out to be division leadership, and from division to district, you're kind of, robbing the leadership out of what's there in the flotilla and the division and the district. And I kind of hate that, but we need people to step up. And we expect you to participate in flotilla meetings. That doesn't mean you have to attend every flotilla meeting. Your flotilla leadership will tell you what they expect. I expect everybody to make an effort. Now, we are distance-wise 2 hours, almost 2 hours between the easternmost and westernmost members of our flotilla, not division, flotilla, 2 hours away. So to have everybody come in, spend all that time traveling sometimes isn't feasible, and getting home after 10:30 at night is not nice. So, but I want you to attend something, make an effort, Zoom or whatever. So this is your expectation from the United States Coast Guard. You've seen this, and I'll show it to you again a little bit later. So, application process. Oh, Anita left. I'm sorry she left. I should have had the slide there. I don't know if this is a link or not. I'll have to find out. No, it's not. Not yet, anyway. So, I talked about the history of the Coast Guard, the history of auxiliary, and then we get down to the application process. So, application process is completing the A7001. The current form, I think, is 04 of 21. I think that's the current form. They change them occasionally. I encourage everybody during the orientation process, read the instructions. That form is 14 pages. The first 4 or 5 pages are informational, things you need to fill out. The rest of it are just instructions and things that you might not need. There is a checklist provided by Anita Daniel, your DSO HR, District Staff Officer for Human Resources. And use that checklist. If you're going through an orientation, if you're mentoring somebody, that checklist will save your bacon. It'll greatly expedite the process, and I'm going to show it to you in a little bit. Need to take the new member exam. It's online. They need to make, I think, an 80 or 90. I'm not really sure. I should know, but I don't off the top of my head. Take the new member exam. And some people just say, here's the exam, take it. If you're a good mentor during the orientation process, blend those two together, you will show them why that new member exam is so important. You get a lot of information in there from the new member reference guide. And then we want to see just a little bit of how much do you retain from that. So the exam's a way of finding out how much they remembered. And then also you need to provide proof of citizenship. Well, back up. For the application process. If you have prior military experience, you had to provide a DD-214, right?
Yes.
So did I. Okay. I had to take a boating class. You've taken one. I've taken one. Have you had your boating class?
The boater safety course, yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So, Derek, have you had yours? So we've all been there, done that, and we can walk them through this in the part of the orientation process. Now, here's the application form. Oh. Now, it's going to pop up funny because I don't think I have what I need to have on here. Yeah. How many of you have seen this before? That little red tag up there. Don has. There's something about JavaScript in my Adobe Reader on my Mac, and it's just, But anyway, that's the information that you go through. This is what I want to show you. Why should you do the application process in person? Because you should discuss these items with the applicant. What is the auxiliary? Well, we've just seen that we taught them about the auxiliary before, right? That was part of our orientation process. And it tells you what they are, what members can expect from the auxiliary. Well, you can expect training, you can expect new skills, fellowship, public service. We talked about those just a minute ago, okay? What does the auxiliary expect from members? Does this sound familiar? We expect dedication. We expect fellowship. We expect public service, professional conduct, and participation right off the application. So you've talked with the applicant during the orientation process. You've talked with them about these things. Please, I beg of you, don't just go check. Have a conversation with them about these things. The importance of personal conduct in all activities. Look at the next one. Every member is expected to participate in some program. Every member is expected to participate in some program. Patrols, public education. Have you seen that before? That was in my slide presentation. That's the expectation of the auxiliary. Training and qualifications opportunities are provided. It tells them, look at that, vessel examiners, air and surface operations. Probably 3 or 4 times a quarter, I'll get somebody through the AAMS system, the online I want to join system, that says, I'm a pilot. Congratulations, you're a pilot. Guess what? You still have to go through Coast Guard pilot training in order to do it our way before we can put you into AUX Air, which is our air patrol system. Okay? We talk about personal costs involved. Now, I think that this should have been discussed way before you get to the application process, but personal costs, dues, uniforms, we don't pay for anything. Maybe you're on orders. I'm on orders to come here. So maybe they're going to cover a little bit of your costs. Who knows? So this is the interview record, and you have to somewhere somewhere it says that the interviewer checks off each item as discussed. That may not be your staff, your flotilla commander. It may not be your flotilla staff officer for human resources. It may be just somebody who's helping filling out the application. Somebody who knows what they're talking about needs to go through these items. Then, before we take a break, we're going to get there. Proof of citizenship, policy statement, blah, 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 blah. Instructions. It's fairly simple. Read all instructions carefully. I was talking to Laura, handles all the applications that comes in. She said, you wouldn't believe how many of them come in incomplete or wrong because they just didn't follow the instructions. It's fairly simple, okay? So we want to go through with that. Enough of that. Yeah, one more item. I'm doing this left-handed. Checklist. There is a checklist. It's updated, and it is, oops, down at the very bottom. 8th Eastern Regional Checklist. Oh, saved it. Never mind. We're going to see it in just a second anyway. So it goes through and makes sure that you've paid attention to the primary parts of the application that might not be correct. There it is. This is for District 82, and it gives all the information on there that you want to do. It's a simple and easy way for persons that are filling out the application to make sure they've got everything that needs to be got, okay? So let's take a break, because I'm tired of talking. You're tired of sitting. And we'll take, let's come back at 5 after. Does that be all right with you? And then we'll finish this up and go to lunch, okay? So now in the orientation process, we've turned in the application to DTRAIN. Do you remember when your application was completed and they said, thank you, we're sending this off? What happened next?
Nothing for like 6 months.
Seriously?
But that's when the person had retired and one of them stopped working and it was just a big,
That was about a year ago, right?
yes, sir.
Rhonda retired, something happened, yeah, so,
It was a yes.
yep. 6 months, but nothing from the flotilla?
Oh, yes, sir. They were constantly pinging them, and the flotilla kept in touch with me, but there was, circumstances happened.
True. I told you you'd see this again and again and again. So, a great place to start. Your member has filled out the application. We send it to DTRAIN. Let's suppose that everything's great. All the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. I would take them to this location right here. New to the auxiliary. Completed your enrollment. What's next? So, I wish we all had computers and we could go here, but it says you made a commitment, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully, it says, hopefully, this doesn't work on there. Whoops. Wah, wah, wah. Hopefully, your flotilla has assigned a mentor in bold letters. So right there at the very beginning, after your application has been turned in, they're telling you, hopefully you've got a mentor. If you don't have one, ask for one. The first months of the auxiliary can seem daunting, unfamiliar, blah, blah, blah. And acronyms, language, positions, insignia. So you know basically nothing. Maybe you've read a few things, but in the orientation process, as you go through this with your new members, just assume for the moment that they know nothing, because that's probably true. This place will get you through the information that you need. And let's look at these. The member passport, we're going to talk about that after lunch. That's a document that they have provided in the auxiliary that kind of tracks everything once you have gotten through your orientation or going through it. Auxiliary terms. Derek saw the handout. Did you show Lo the handout that you had?
I did.
Auxiliary terms. I can't tell you how frustrating it is to be sitting in a meeting, and I did this 2 months ago with 3 members there, and we're going through the obligatory new business. What are we going to do? We've got issues that need to be handled, votes that need to be taken, and we're throwing out these 3-letter and 4-letter acronyms, and you can just see the blank stares on the new members sitting there. And I said, stop. Every time you say something, you can use the phrase FSO, but tell them what it is. Tell them more than once. Don't expect them to remember it just because you've said it one time. New member handbook. Whoops, where am I going here? Let's see where that takes us. Charting the course for your service. Charting the course. Giving them a direction using the new member handbook. It's just a tool that you have. What are the meetings? What are the uniforms? What manuals are available? I would venture to say, and I don't have a number, but there are probably 23 to 25 critical manuals from the auxiliary from a standpoint of doing our basic jobs. And that's the boat crew manual, the telecommunications manual, the vessel examiner's manual, partner visitor's manual. They're all out there, okay? Acronyms and abbreviations. So this goes through a lot of information that you would need to know. What and how you can do it. Selecting your mission. So this handbook is a fairly good thing to maybe print out, and as you've done the application, it's already been sent off to DTRAIN. Now you can go through this with your new member. Have you run into this symbol before? All of you have member numbers?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So if you don't have a member number and you're going through the website, or your applicants going through the website, they're going to hit that symbol. And they're going to say, I can't do anything. You have to have a member number. You have to be logged in order to get to the super secret stuff. And the super secret stuff is there because you don't want anybody getting into our personal information, our proprietary information. We want to protect that at all costs. So explain to the new member, until you get a member number, this isn't going to be available to you. Thank you, sir. Are you leaving us?
I am.
I appreciate your attendance. Are you signing in?
I signed into the first class.
You want to sign in the second class?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you.
Oh, no problem.
It's a very good class. Good luck to you.
Thank you. And you're available for anything we need.
Anything you need, stop me if I'm walking around. Tell me your name and talk, ask questions. Be glad to. As you probably found out between me and the deputy commodore, we're not afraid to talk. So ask, okay? Good luck, guys.
Thank
Thanks
you
a lot.
very much.
Appreciate it. Chief of Staff. Wow. He just started, got a couple of years. He keeps his nose clean.
Or tries to.
Yeah, if he keeps his nose clean a couple of years, he'll hopefully be our Commodore. I've worked with Ron since he first got in, and we're about the same thing. I'm tracking about 4 months ahead of him. But super guy, a lot of good resources, and we're just blessed to have so many good leaders in this district, for sure. But you do need to mention this to your new members. So what can they do? Well, they can do FEMA stuff. And there's a link to the training for the FEMA. If you just go in trainingfema.gov, let them start doing that. Get them somehow involved in what we do. I try to give every new member something from the ship store. I give them a t-shirt. If they want a polo, I'll figure out a polo as long as they agree that they're going to become BQ within, 60 days or whatever. I'm all about treats. I raised all these kids and dogs, and if you do something good for me, I'm going to do something good for you. So if you join the auxiliary, I'm going to get you a t-shirt because I want you to walk out the day you sign your app. I want you to put on, not a uniform item, but I want you to put on something that says, I'm with the Coast Guard Auxiliary. Build that relationship as fast as we can. I'm just going to run through these because you've seen them before. ICS 100, 200, 210, 700, and 800. Those are the basic courses that anybody can do while they're waiting for something to happen in those 6 months from DIROCs. Okay? The auxiliary homepage, let's go there real quickly. Want to take them here. This is a good starting point. Now you see down on the left-hand side, let me get to it. I've showed you this before. New member info. Come on, clicker. Wait a minute. Anytime you can, direct the new member to this website. That's the one we were just on. That link is on almost every website on the WOW website for the auxiliary. New member information. Core training goes through all of that. So let's back up. Quit it. I'm sure there's a faster way to do this. I just haven't figured it out. So you can go to the auxiliary homepage. And the links, if you want the PowerPoint, the links are in there. So now the director has come in. Laura's got there. They've approved your application. Now what? Need a member number. They're going to give you a member number. You're going to need something because you're in AP status. Now, the AP stands for what?
Approval pending.
Approval pending. Haven't you just been approved?
But now you got to do the training.
So
BQ.
what approval are we waiting on? So I don't like the terminology, but we call it AP status. I'm never going to change that. You're in AP status, okay?
Right.
So what can you do in AP status? First of all, you're going to get an email explaining the method for setting up your login ID and password. Did y'all get that?
Yes, sir.
Do you know that method expires in 24 hours?
Yes.
It's a short window, and if you happen to be out of town or something and you don't get it, you're not going to be able to sign in. It's going to give you all kinds of difficulty. There will be, for your new members, tell them there's a link on there that says, send me a new login. And they'll do that. and that resets the 24-hour clock. Okay. Auxiliary classroom. Oh. Member training and development. What does that say you have to do right there? To get to anything, you have to log in. This is really nice because that is almost a universal login system now. It's been in effect for, if I can remember, about 8 months, I think. Did you say something? About 8 months? It's awesome because we used to have so many different ways we had to go through. Now I've only got 3, and so I can log in here. I'll do that real quickly just to show you how simple this system is. It used to use, there you go. It's already in there. I'm populated. And I'm in.
And boom.
Okay? So now I'm in the classroom. I can look at the courses that I want. I'm not going to go through that with you, but your member can keep track of that. We're in the classroom here. Get out. I would advise that you log out of everything you have the opportunity to log out of. You don't want a lot of this stuff streaming. It'll take you to core training. Now remember, we saw that core training on a previous slide in the new member section, did we not?
Mm-hmm.
So this would be, see if new member's on here. Yep, new member info, there it is. Remember this site right here, core training. New member info. Core training. We're also back to the initial qualification core training.
Mm-hmm.
It's right there. You can look at it, additional information, blah, blah, blah. There's tons of information on these websites. And as you're orienting or you're mentoring and you're going through this with these people, sit down with them and just play with it. Go through the basic qualification course. That's going to take us back to the same place that we looked at before, so I don't want to take too much time doing that. Okay. Once you've completed core training, basic qualification course, you've taken a boating safety class, your status is now basically qualified. Right? We're done, right?
No.
Are we through?
You're never through.
Do any of you need an ID card? If you go to hospitality, talk to Lynn, walk around with cameras around her neck. They came and got my little red thing. They're going to do ID cards. It may not happen immediately, but you can at least say, hey, I need an ID. They can set you up, fill out the form, take a picture. If you're not BQ, they're not going to issue your card, but they can capture that information and they can send it to you. And when you become basically qualified, you can simply send it to Shaw or send it to somebody and they'll pass it on up. ID card, I think Commodore Shaw can get them done within like a week or two if he's in town. He was traveling in Europe right now, so bless his heart. But those ID cards can come fairly quickly. So your member, once they get that BQ, don't wait. Get them that ID card in a hurry because they like that. I had 2 members that had left the auxiliary for other reasons, but they used the excuse, well, I never got an ID card. I said, well, you never filled out the form. We've given it to you twice. And, I'm sorry, but, you've got to do your part before we can do our part. So get those pictures taken. You'll probably need to borrow a tropical shirt from somebody because they wanted trops. But I'll loan you mine if you need it. Training manuals. Oh, manuals out the ears. Back to this website. Basic qualification. Uniform guide. We'll talk about that in a minute. Risk management. Program visit. Look at that. All these manuals that are available. In one spot, you can see most of the pretty important manuals that are up there. I told you about the recipe, right? Not everybody uses the same recipe when they're cooking something. Risk management is something that other people will tell you that's the first thing you need people to do is to take that risk management introduction course. I think it's important, but I don't think it's the first thing, okay? It needs to be in your little what are we going to do? You go through the training manuals. Here we are. Risk management's there. Then what's your hot button? Do you want to look at some of these and see what they do? What's involved? There they are, all laid out in one little website for you. Very well done, I do believe. My favorite down here is probably the instructor, and then OXOP. So they call the OXOP the PhD of the auxiliary, but I can promise you that I was lucky to pass them. Most of them I passed the second time. Weather took me 3 times. Depends on who the mentor is and depends on how focused you can stay. But I've forgotten most of what was in there. I was just talking to the leadership class with Brzezinski. We were trying to remember what the qualifications were for OXOP, and I could only think of 3 or 4 mandatory things. So, but it's here, and it's something to aspire to. If you're going to go through weather and communications and navigation and seamanship, if you're going to do those, then go through and take the auxiliary operations course. It can be beneficial to you. It increases your knowledge and your ability to talk to other people, for sure. Oh, back to you. And while I'm here, I want to thank the 2 gentlemen in the back for helping me figure out how I'm going to navigate through all of this. And between Chris and Stephen, I've been able to move through this with you and use the whiteboard and move around. And without them, I'd be standing right here and you'd be bored to tears. We may be bored to tears anyway, but oh, my favorite. How many of you are in Oxdata? Logged in and playing around in it? Derek, you taking the plunge yet? Whew. I'll tell you what. I don't want to venture in there, and I'll tell you why. I don't want to release any personal information to people, and I'm not really sure when I go into Oxdata or off the top of my head what's going to pop up. So if I go in there, I may present some personal information that my core training security thing says I shouldn't be releasing. But I'm pretty sure, am I logged in here? No. Okay. So can I get to what's new from here? Right now, can I click on what's new?
Yeah.
See that little symbol out there low?
Oh, no, sir, I can't see.
I'm
from
not
here,
logged
but
in. So
yeah.
when I do
Sorry.
that,
Oh, correct. Yep.
I'm going to get, whoops, can't do that. Now, so these are the updates for Oxdata. Here's something interesting. This is where it would be nice if you could get to, once you've got a member number, Derek, you can go here. How-to guides and instructions for members. So as you're going through the orientation with this new member, they're now BQ. It doesn't stop there. Basic qualification doesn't stop the mentoring process. Now we have to go through and figure out this. I have a member that knows Oxdata 2 getting in. He may not know all the reporting features and all of that, how to load workshops, things like that, but he knows how to get into it. And that's critical, knowing how to get into Oxdata with your number, setting up a password, doing all of that. Missions, a quick guide. I'm going to show you that. Just passports. This afternoon after lunch, I've got a list of some of the mission codes that we use. I'm also the FSO-IS for my flotilla, so I can enter that information in. 99 mission codes, how to enter. Okay, so, but there's a lot of information in there. So that link is also in the PowerPoint presentation if you should want that. New Member Reference Guide. It's a publication. Goes through the purpose discussion. There's a lot of information in here. It's a great thing for you as a mentor in orientation to go through and look at. So many of these things are so big. I think I've got a link to that. You know. There you go. So this is the chapters of the New Member Reference Guide. That's a lot of material up there. How many times have you seen, for example, some place that gives you the acronyms of the auxiliary? So they're all over the place. No matter where you go, you can almost find something that's going to give you organizational structure. You know, what's the leadership of this organization? Member training qualifications, reimbursement for auxiliaries, chapter on uniforms. So the new member coming in is overwhelmed with all the stuff. Were you not? Yes. Overwhelmed with all this. How do I get my uniforms? I've got a guy that's been in for almost 4 months, still trying to find tropical blue shirt. It's almost impossible to find in that size, my size. So there's information out there that we can impart to people. Remember, as mentors, 2 parts of ours. We were patient people and we were knowledgeable people. You have to know where to go on the website to get to where you want to go. I tell my new members to go in there and play around with it. Just click and click. You can't break anything. Click and click and click. If you get to something you're not supposed to be there, that member zone thing will pop up and say you got to log in before you can talk to anybody in this portal or not. But lots of information. The biggie. Where is it? Aha. My favorite. Ugh. You know what that is?
No.
Oh, the manual,
That's the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary Manual.
752 pages.
$7.95 here.
795 on that? Okay.
30. Let's see, I think I've got it down
795,
here.
yeah.
Table of contents. 36 pages of table of contents. My gosh, that's a lot. 795 pages. I printed out 3 of these and labeled them. You're welcome to look at it. You interested in seeing it? Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, well, online.
Online you have.
I'm on page 7. Pass all the, once you get to the actual reading part of it.
So what do you think as a new auxiliarist if you showed them that physical, not online? It's kind of bland online. What if you said, that's our manual, learn that?
Reverse course, you'll see a reverse
What do you think,
course.
Wes? It's a shock to me. Every time I pull that out, and I carry it with me pretty regularly.
They get confused because they want us to memorize that or what?
Yeah. So you know what I do? I showed you the reference manual chapters, right? I take new members and I tell them to go through this table of contents, and all I want to know is what's chapter 1 say. Chapter 1's the history. You know, chapter 2 is this. Chapter 10, I think, is uniform. So I say, when you have questions, you have that thing laminated.
Right.
Take the table of contents for the auxiliary manual, the number, and just a brief description, and laminate it. And say, if you have questions, before you contact moi, look it up in the manual. I'm really insistent that people, online or on physical, use that manual. I like the online version because it automatically has all the updates off to the side. You've seen that, right? The little gold boxes. But tell them, look it up. Try it for yourself before you come to me. Give it your best shot. All missions relate to this goal. We went through that, right?
Yes.
Go back to the home page again. So hopefully by now you know where you are. You know, we talked about that when you're laying in the middle of the auxiliary, the new member is kind of like, what is this place? You know, what's a division? What's a district? You know, what's an FSO? Who are these people walking around with stuff all over their shirt? What does this thing mean? Why is mine red and yours is blue? You know, why? Questions. Figure out where they are. They're in the auxiliary. We're going to take them through the process. We're going to make it easy for them, because one of our goals is to smooth that out, take away that frustration, take away that anxiety. Don't worry about it. We're going to orient you as to where you are. Hello? Where you want to go, okay? And help you get there, okay? That's what we want to do, help them get there. You came in wanting to be boat crew, and they said, by the way, we got other things over here, telecommunication. Wow, I did that in the Air Force. Maybe you can say, I'm tired of that, I don't want to do that anymore. Or maybe say, I've got some expertise here. Two things. I can put my expertise to use, and I can help somebody else with my expertise. And that's kind of what I want to do in the auxiliary after, 15, 16 years, is I want to, whatever I know, I want somebody to pick my brain. Pick it before it's gone, because it's going daily. I'm forgetting things quickly, okay? Let us help you get there. So, we've just gone through an orientation process. Not the end all. There is, if you can indulge me just a moment, we got a second or two. We'll go back a couple of slides. I want to go to the training directorate. No. Yeah, T directorate. Have to log in again. I don't really mind that. Oh gosh, where is it? Maybe it's in innovation. Nope. Oh, phooey. Don't give up on me.
We have faith in you. You can do it.
Leadership development. There it is.
There you go.
Do-do-do-do. Leadership guide, development, membership involvement. There's the passport. Anyway, there's a mentoring guide. There it is right there. For example, here's a mentoring guide that's in the IT. Different than what I presented, but still gives a lot more information that's available out there. There is also somewhere in here but maybe not. It's in there somewhere. I don't want to waste all your time playing around on it. There's a way you can go to orientation slides, how they think, what you should teach and when. I'm not so concerned about the when it gets taught, I just am concerned that it gets taught. So if you want to teach risk management before you teach anything else, go ahead and teach risk management. But at some point in time, all of those little pieces put together create the puzzle. So when I put together a jigsaw puzzle, what's the first thing I would do?
The border.
The border, okay? That's the basics of what we do. So we're putting together this puzzle of what's the auxiliary all about. We start with putting together the border, okay? And then after you get that down, if you've kind of got them into what the history is, where are we going, what are the missions involved, then we can get into the other parts. I don't care which puzzle piece you put in next, whatever fits. Just make sure that you put all the puzzle pieces in so that jigsaw puzzle looks like something at the very end, okay? So if Derek's already signed this? All right, if you would sign the sign-in sheet, she's going to give you credit for the hours that you spent here, hours and hours and hours. I lost my slide. What about questions, comments, suggestions? Is there anything we can do, anything you can do to make this presentation better? Whoops.
How do we write the number up here?
If, and I'm more than willing to send you this. It's got my information here. Text me, email me, call me, it doesn't really matter.
In front of it. In front of it, yeah.
If you ask me for this presentation, I'll send it to you. Feel free to do anything you want to with it.
No, that's not right.
That's not you.
Change it up. Make it your presentation. Make it something that you can use. Because I said earlier, knowledge is not power. Knowledge is just knowledge. It's using what you know that gives you some power.
Yeah, so he's local.
So when your new member like Derek comes in,
I should know.
confusion, frustration, all that thing hits, your ability in the flotilla, even as just a regular member, Lo, you can alleviate that frustration of that new member, starting off with mentoring process and this orientation in any format you can use. I don't care. Any way you can do it. Questions, comments, suggestions? Nothing? We're a quarter hour till I think we're done, unless you want something to me. At approximately 1:20, I think, is on the schedule. I'm going to start in on the passport document. I can promise you that I can go through that fairly quickly. I have handouts of that document. You know what I didn't give you? Went to the trouble of getting all of these printed up. I didn't give you my little slide sheet.
I know, we didn't get our little cheat sheet thing.
My little cheat sheet. And I apologize for that. I'll try to do better next time. No, go ahead, Wes. What? I'll answer any question.
So here's,
That's it.
so here's my passport, and I'm doing it all in pencil because people
I'm gonna,
change.
sir?
Did you get one of these?
He's gonna hand it to me right now. Thank you, sir.
Oh, passport. Okay, that's coming up for our next class, right? Yeah.
That's coming up at 1 something or
Well,
other.
this was the orientation
And it's going to be,
presentation. Oh, you got
we're
that one.
supposed to go until 3. When do you shut this down? 3:20, 3:30?
So we got a couple different forms
You
you're
have two
giving out.
different forms. I got the orientation, he got the passport.
Oh, here you go. I don't know why they stick it in there.
So I'll take the orientation.
You can hang on the
And I'll
passport.
take the passport.
And she needs
I'll give
the
it to you this
passport.
afternoon. How about
Okay,
that?
that works.
See, I got mine early. I can start studying up
Oh,
on
you
it.
can start
I
studying
can
up.
start studying up.
Pass the test.
So how did you get Derek a copy of that, the laminated sheets that you had?
I made them up myself. So yeah, what I did was I took pieces out of the manuals.
Yeah?
I found what I knew that I was going to be struggling with because I was struggling with them as I saw it in the manual. And then so I put them on, printed them out separate and then put them together.
Cool. So I want to take a picture of them.